Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Bowling University studio in the International Bowling Campus here in Arlington, Texas. I'm Bart Berger, and I'll be your host for this edition of the Bowling University Tuesday Morning Profit Break. Thank you all for joining us. The Tuesday Morning Profit Break is an excellent opportunity for sharing insights on how to grow revenue, reduce costs, and enrich yourself, your team, and your business. Welcome to all of our new viewers, and welcome back to all of you that are joining us again. Thank you all for taking a few minutes out of your busy day. We've got another great show for you, so let's get started. Grab your coffee or your favorite morning beverage, and it's time to get started improving your profitability. This morning we have with us one of our very own team members here at the campus, Mr. John Karabatsos. John has years of food and beverage experience and is going to spend a few minutes this morning talking about the important topic, especially in this environment, of setting the appropriate pricing for your F&B operation. John, good morning. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning, Bart. Thanks for having me. So strategic pricing. Pricing is a foundation tool, if you will, of building up a successful food and beverage business. So pricing should not be an afterthought. It should be something that's thoughtful. It should be something that is strategically addressed. So really what pricing strategy you use is important. There's multiple ones out there, but strategic pricing is really something that uses multiple best practices that are out there to come up with the right price for your brand. And that's really important. Your pricing has to complement your brand based on the value to your guest. So again, it really isn't something that you should just quickly just decide on a price. You need to look at the overall picture. Who you are, what's your brand, what are you trying to present to your guests? So pricing is a critical factor. And the goal of strategic pricing is finding what that right price is, which it's not that easy to come up with it, but with a little bit of research, a little bit of digging, you can find it. So really it's finding that sweet spot, the lowest price you're willing to charge at the highest price your target audience will pay. It's as simple as that. Okay, so some things to consider when you're considering your pricing is your style of service. Okay, do you have a counter, or do you have a sit-down restaurant? Okay, do you have a full kitchen? Do you have a snack bar? Okay, your brand, is it? Are you the best game in town? Are you the best experience in town? What do you stand for? What product are you serving overall? What is the experience like? Your menu is key. If you have mostly frozen products or you have pre-prepared products versus in the kitchen, if you're preparing them fresh, that makes a big difference. How you're serving them makes a big difference. So you putting them on paper, you putting them on a plate. How do you do that? So that's going to determine the cost that you should charge. Who's your audience? Okay, who is coming into, it's not who you want to come in, but who is coming in? What is your target market like? Are they value seekers? Are people that are just there, they're looking to save a few dollars, they want to pay less is better? Or are they experiential? People that just want to have a great experience, and they don't really care if they're paying a little bit more as long as they're getting a value for their dollar. Okay, so who is your target is so important. The item cost, obviously you're going to have to go through and cost all your item out and see what it's going to cost you to serve that. What is it worth is a whole different thing. Oftentimes, we'll make the mistake of just costing it out, and then they'll mark it up by 3 and say, okay, that's the cost. But the perceived value is critical. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. The demand, the market demand for your item, if there's a product that's out there that's really hot, everybody loves it, it's good, you could probably charge more for it. Okay? If you're the only game in town that has it, and it's good, you can charge more for it. How unique is it? Do you have a signature item? If you don't, you should. You should have something that you're known for, that you can promote, you can market, you can put on your social media. We have the best pizza in town, or whatever it is. So the uniqueness of it, you probably can get you a little bit more money. What's the competitive environment like? Who are your competitors? It isn't just other bowling centers, but who are your competitors? What are they doing? And then ultimately, what are your profit goals? Those are things that you have to consider. And your goals are things that you're going to set when you're doing that standard recipe, you're doing your cost control, you're doing your cost analysis. What kind of a profit? If you remember that consideration that you want to have, and how much do I expect to make in my food and beverage area? Okay, so the right price with the right product targeted to the right guest, to your guest, is going to increase your profit. So this just doesn't happen. You have to do your homework. Okay? So there's different methods of doing it. One of them is called an ideal food costing method. It's the most common. The danger with this is a lot of places just don't do it right. So what that is you're going to go and cost out your menu. And every single item that goes into a sandwich or whatever the item is, what does it cost you? And then you divide that by your targeted cost of goods. So if it costs you $3 and your target is 30%, you're going to divide that the $3 by 30% to get a price. Okay, it is a necessary starting point, and it's a good starting point. It's not an ending point. You're going to come up with some odd numbers, and it doesn't mean that's the right price for your market. So don't do this one alone. Use this as a starting point. If you do it alone, it doesn't account for the market. It doesn't count for any brand-specific things. You may be in a place where you're very experiential and you can charge more for it. And using this method does not account for that. It's too simple. You may be missing opportunities because you may be surprised at how much your guests are willing to pay or how much they're not willing to pay unless you do your homework and you do your research. So a lot of times we'll just do the easy way too. We'll price the same as a competitor. If you're going to look at doing that, your menu items and the experience should at least be perceived as similar for comparative purposes. And what you're doing by doing that, you're removing price as a reason not to eat in your location, okay? Or you just want to use it as an added value. It's like price is not a consideration because we're the same as everybody else, okay? When you're doing that, you're competing on your overall brand offerings, okay? So, but the other big thing with this is you're assuming that your competitor did their homework and they did their pricing correctly. So the mistake they made, if you're just copying them, you may be making the same mistake, and it's going to affect your bottom line. Okay, sometimes you want to go in and price lower than the competition. It's useful if your strategy is to be the low-cost provider, okay, in that market, but what happens if your competitor matches you, and then there's that race to the bottom. Okay, so be careful with this one. If you're doing that, make sure you can hit your profit and your cost goals, and make sure you're going to adjust your menu item, the quality, the presentation, the portion sizes. Those should all match your pricing. Okay, so you can't serve a really high-end product and at a low-end price. It's not going to help you at all. You're not going to last long at all with that. It's a temporary strategy. Okay, you can price higher than the competition. Another common way of doing it is, again, it's based on demand. It's not just the demand of the product, but it's the demand of your location. Okay, so this might be best when your quality means more to your target market. So they're there because they enjoy the overall experience. They enjoy the food that you're providing them. It's not so much about the value. Okay, so your location offers the best overall experience in the market. You can charge for that, and you should charge for that. Okay, so you got to have enough target market to support that. Okay, and then your product has to support that perceived value and perception of quality. Okay, so you can charge a high price, but if what they're getting for it doesn't support that, doesn't match, you're not going to help yourself. So this is another strategy. Ultimately, I think one of the best ways to do it is it's called market minus. It's about knowing your audience. So you're essentially with this is you're working backwards. Okay, it's a combination of all the strategies. So what you're going to do with something like this is you're going to consider your market first. Who is my target? And what are they willing to pay for these items? Then you work backwards. You build your menu to meet the price the market will bear. You know if they'll pay X amount for a burger, then you're going to build that burger for that amount. Okay? So, and it's important to know who your guest is. And the example I use, I mean, would you pay $18 for McDonald's hamburger? Probably not. Okay? Nothing wrong with McDonald's. They're a very successful business, obviously. But compare what you're going to get at McDonald's. I know what I'm going to get. You know, I'm going to go, I'm going to spend $2. That's the burger I want. That meets my expectation. If I go to Gordon Ramsay's, I'm going to pay $18, but it's probably one of the best burgers I've ever had. So you're paying for the experience. So know your experience, know your guest, and charge the appropriate price for it. Okay, here's an example of some pricing too. So once you find out where you want to be strategically, then you need to make sure you price properly. Okay, power of 9. End your price on a 9. In our industry, you're best off ending it on a 9. Don't leave money on the table by ending it on a 5. Okay, every time you do a 5 instead of a 9, you've lost 4 cents. Use the 9. Okay, there's another thing, a step further, called charm pricing, and what that is it takes your price and then it drops that dollar down to the next dollar. So if your ultimate cost, your price that you wanted to get was just over $6, charm pricing says drop it down to 5 and then use the 99. Okay, that's an example of charm pricing. Key there is always price on the 9s. You're leaving money on the table if you don't. Okay, do not include tax. You should not be including tax on your menu items. Okay, all prices are plus tax. All right, so please, and make just you say it. Say it on the menu. You say it on your board. Prices plus tax. If you've been doing it, including tax for a long time, it might be a little bit harder to get away from it. Let your guests know, but don't include tax. Okay, so dropping to the number. One of the things, if you notice on this example from Grand Station, they do a nice job. Everything's ended on 9s. It's laid out really nice. It's easy to read. You know, they have 3 sizes of soft drinks. They've laid it out really good. They've done a nice job of pricing their menu. You might see some menus that don't have, you know, they just have the dollar amount, $7 or 7. That works in some locations. If you're a restaurant or you're really food driven, that implies it's a higher end place, and it will work. For most centers in our industry, it's not the way to do it, because you know, what happens if you want to raise the price 39, 49 cents? Okay, so leave that for the high end places that can raise their price $1 each time. Okay, so that's an example of how you should be pricing your menu. So include your team would be the next thing. Before you come up with that final price, include your team. I mean, they work with your guests more than anybody. They know who your guests are, they know what your guests like, and importantly, they get the guest feedback. So my suggestion is you're done with it, you plate it up, you take it to a team member and individually, okay, and you ask them, what would you pay for this? And you may be surprised at the answers that you get. Okay, what would you pay? Don't guide them, don't lead them or anything. Okay, so and the side benefit of that too is you're going to get some other opinions of people that are really important. But it's going to reinforce your culture of valuing that team member's input. Okay, and it's going to show them that they play a part in your success. So this is always a great one. I always use this idea, and it gets them involved in the final product. And then, you know what, when you're talking to them, they can talk it up to your guests, because now you've explained to them, here's what it is. It's 7 ounces of fries. It's this. It's got this topping on it. It's got this dressing and so on. Okay? So that's always important. So finally, make sure that you're reviewing your prices consistently. Frequently and consistently. Pricing is a never-ending process. You always want to review it. You want to review it. You're going to monitor it, because costs go up, costs go down, especially nowadays. Prices are going up post-pandemic in a big way. Adjust as necessary. Okay, you want to stay on top of that. Your market conditions are going to change. The competitive environment's going to change, and you've got to keep up with the menu trends. What's something new that's out there? You don't want to have too many things. If you add something, don't get back into creep where you've got too many items on your menu. Keep your menu slim and efficient. Consider some seasonal opportunities for new items, and then there may be some things in there that you can expand your menu with by looking and seeing what the new trends are out there. Okay? So, and in closing, all strategic pricing is simply just, it's the right price with the right product to the needs of your guests to get them to come back again and again and again, and that's going to maintain a healthy bottom line for you. So this is another example of it is easy and it is simple. You just have to spend the time and develop it properly. Right?
Thanks, John. Some great things to consider and some great strategies to wrap our arms around here. So let me sneak in one question today, because in our industry, as we know, many of us are based off and grew up in this league-based model. And we kind of have this unwritten rule that we increase prices once a year before the league season and can never do it during the league season. So what do you say to those guests, those centers, you know, given the fact that we're in this post-pandemic environment and commodities are rising, inflation is around the corner, you know, what do you say to the league centers that I can only do it once a year?
All right. Well, you know what? I mean, I was there. I think there was a day back in the day when you could survive purely by bowling itself. And bowling would drive everything in there, and you could get away with raising your price once a year. But really, if you're going to be successful now, it's going to take multiple healthy revenue streams. And one of the ways you maintain a healthy food and beverage revenue stream is you treat it like a true valuable resource to your center. It's not an afterthought. You can make decent money. It will help your overall profit. So to them, I would say you need to treat it like a restaurant, and you need to look at your pricing at least twice a year. And yeah, I know it's a hard conversation, but you know those people, you know the league bowlers, and they'll understand. You go down and tell them why. This is what's happening. We're going to go up. And I think when you share that, they're going to be more accepting of it. But the other thing is you need that revenue stream if you're going to be healthy and you're going to maintain a healthy bottom line.
Yeah, so keep that communication open, share with the league bowlers the why. I think they understand if we share that with them. And look, we're all in the food business now.
Yes, we are. Good point.
Thanks, John, for that great information. And I'd like to remind all of you that if you'd like more information on this critical topic, or if you have team members that would benefit from understanding this, we have an excellent 30-minute course as part of our on-demand online training program available at bowlinguniversity.net. So as we wrap up another edition of the Tuesday Morning Profit Break, remember that when your focus is on growing people, people will grow your business. We look forward to seeing you next week, next Tuesday, 10:15 Eastern, for another great episode of the Tuesday Morning Profit Break. If you have any questions about today's show or would like additional information, you can reach any of us anytime at education@bpaa.com. Also, you and your team can watch any of our previous episodes 24/7 by visiting bowlinuniversity.net. Until then, I'm Bart Berger, and do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. We'll see you next week.